right, welcome back to another episode of the Ashcast. This episode, I have with me somebody who should have been on this a long time ago, Mr. Kenny Bounce. First name Kenny, last name Bounce.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Kenny?
Spot on. Doing pretty well. Enjoying some other games.
Yeah?
Happy to be here.
What games are we playing?
League of Legends, Call of Duty, old Gears of War games. And just enjoying the off season.
So anything but the game that you are a pro player in.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything but the game I have to play all the time. Exactly.
Well, I think that's going to lead into a different talking point. So let's start going backwards some and talking about the season finals, because I don't think a lot of people know what we went through to get that win. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, to get that win. So
yeah.
Let's start with maybe, what was it, 2 months or 3 months leading up to the season finals, right? Like how long was that funk we were in?
I'm trying. Was the major beforehand in May? I think it was in May. I think the first like pretty much from the first major until maybe, like, is it safe to say like a week or two before the event, we just didn't have anything going
win
for ourselves. Like,
yeah,
it's like, and the event was July 31st to August 2nd. So thinking like May to the end of July ish, like mid end of July, like the long ass slump we were in. That was miserable. That's probably that probably goes up there with like when at the end of Gears 4 when I'm on like the, I'll call them lower end teams, and like just like, I couldn't win then, like for some reason with this God squad we couldn't win, and we were winning pro league matches, but every Tuesday we weren't winning, and scrims we were miserable. And God, I remember when we were playing, I don't even know if I want to be saying this, but when we were playing, like just getting so like not toxic, but just being so upset with how we're playing because it just was so bad. Like I would have never thought on paper that this 5 would have dealt with what we were dealing with ever. Never in my life. It didn't happen in Gears 4 when we were teaming. I mean, until we actually lost. We really didn't deal with anything like this. We could at least win.
Well,
Here,
see,
we couldn't win.
You got to dodge when we dealt with this in Gears 4. Like the only time that we had something similar was
it. Yeah. Great.
The only time that we had some like similar experience was leading up to Boston in Gears 4. Like we couldn't win a scrim to save our lives for like probably like 3 weeks. It was like the worst funk that we had ever been in. And then Boston was the easiest event up until this last one. The season finals. But yeah, bro, that was, I mean, so we finished the last online major. We celebrated. We took like what, maybe a month break.
Yeah, it was something like that. 3 weeks.
I know we were like a little bit late to coming back to scrimming because a lot of other teams had like made roster changes and were scrimming already.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we couldn't win anything other than our matches on Sundays, and even that stopped.
Yeah, towards the end, lost the Hive and Rise, and lost our first seed.
It was so miserable. We all went through like the phases of like denial, where like what's it, like the different steps when somebody dies, like the steps of grieving or whatever it is. Like we all like went through that. There was points where like we were in disbelief and denying it, and then we accepted it, and then we were like accepting that we sucked. And then we're spending hours trying to like criticize ourselves and figure out things that we can do better. We came up with a whole new practice structure that we started using and schedule. We were
losing, watching VOD, going over all of this stuff, and then we're even going over different nade spots, hoping that it helps us. Like
nade spots, changing spawns, changing spots, like
everything.
Like we literally like the only thing we didn't do was start like going to church as a team or practicing like voodoo rituals or something.
It was as bad as it was. I'm happy that we never like lost confidence in ourselves though. Like we knew going to the event, because it's weird going into the event with dealing with everything we dealt with, like not winning initials, setups were bad, like our objectives going into scrims, like the list would have just been like infinite. Like start with Asylum, you know, the Icebound, we have to get rid of it. Like this everything that we have to work on. The list is just so long,
Mm.
but we're for whatever reason going into the weekend, or even like when we were going through the slump, because obviously we were coming out of it towards the end of it, but like before coming out of it, I was still extremely confident.
Yeah, well, we had those like moments where we would show up and everyone was like certain in those moments, like, okay, look, like we saw glimpses of what we can be. Why can't we just do that like all the time and
Yeah,
stop putting ourselves through this?
yeah, that's you know what I hate the most thinking back about it is reading Twitch chat, looking at the VODs and
Oh,
just
yeah.
seeing just here we go. Drop Kenny's already happening.
Drop Kenny,
Like, drop praise. Like,
the
the Ashes isn't
snakes.
doing enough. Yeah.
Yep.
Just all of that great stuff.
Yep.
But,
And
but,
even
yeah.
when we were doing well, like I'm pretty sure like the first like day of the online major, people were like thinking it was a fluke that we were doing well because we had lost so many UMGs.
We just started doing everything right. As generic and stupid as that sounds, like initials, like chaining up the initials.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I said
And
in like my post event vlog was I think there was a couple things that contributed to it. One, like the confidence, like you mentioned, you know, we never like lost that trust in like each other as teammates and the confidence in like our ability to win. You stepping up as an IGL and helping with that, like making sure that we were running our strat book, not just doing like the basics and running through the motions. That way we were controlling like the pace of the game and how we wanted it to play out. And then I think like there was like a day or two of like VOD review where I noticed, especially with like Vic and Rody, I think almost everybody, where like there was things that we pointed out that I think resonated with everybody and it clicked, and a lot of people were like no longer making those like tiny little round changing individual like overextension mistakes and things like that where they're getting caught, they're getting picked, and then now we're in a 4v5 and you know now it's tough to hold this setup, or you know those like little things that we would talk about over and over again. Like there was just that day where I felt like it kind of clicked somewhere in like the week or two before the event, but I don't think people realize
people wanted to stop losing is what it like felt like.
Yeah,
I guess
like people hit their boiling point of
exactly.
like tolerating losses, but I don't think people realize like there was a point where we were still trying to like insist on playing Icebound because we're actually not bad on Icebound. It's just Icebound's a bad map, and so then we get this mental block because it's a bad map, and we don't ever get to play Exhibit because it might as well be renamed like UIU's map. So the 5 maps in between that, we didn't have another one where we could be like, yep, we'll win this every time.
Yeah,
it was bad. Like we would lose District to Rise. I think we lost District to Rise in the league match. Asylum was probably our worst map, or one of our worst.
If we could have a second auto ban, it would have been Asylum.
Yeah, Bunker was down there. Like Bunker was not far off of Asylum. Training Grounds was hit or miss. It depended on like which LATAM team we played, basically. What am I missing? Vascar. Yeah, Vascar is a dice roll, anyways. So
that's like you're supposed to lose rounds on that map. So imagine if we're just not playing it well and you're supposed to lose rounds. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
That map is that map might be the most interesting Gears map.
It reminds me almost of like in terms of like that concept of like there's rounds that you're supposed to lose. It reminds me of Fuel Depot, like where there's rounds where like you're supposed to lose because the other team gets boomed for free.
Yep.
But it's circular and plays differently because of hills and stuff, obviously. But yeah, I mean, like I don't think words will ever like unless I went through and uploaded the scrim VODs, which we both know I can't do.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Nobody will ever understand. Like we're not exaggerating when Kenny and I say like we were in fucking hell for at least 2 months of just us being the worst team on. Okay, not the worst team. We were still better than like half the pro teams.
Right, like we're talking about how bad it was. We were 12-2 in the pro league. We couldn't win a UMG, and like there's teams that have never won a UMG that would
But
love to
like,
have over 10 wins in the pro league.
yeah, but like
we're
we
talking
were
about hell.
every night we're getting on and just getting abused, or like we're either losing convincingly like 5-1s and 5-0s, or we're losing heartbreaking rounds like round 9s in scrims every single night on every map. I'm pretty sure there was one night we even lost a scrim to PK on exhibit. So like, and then there'd be like that would be like 2 days of the week, and then we'd have that one day where we do really well, and then it'd just go back to normal. You remember that? Like there'd be the one day where we're like, oh yeah, like we 5-0 PK
like,
first
we're
map.
back.
Yeah, like we 5-0 PK on a side. I'm like, oh yeah, we're back. And then it was like, nope, Alex woke up now, back to getting shit on.
Yeah, I choose to never relive that again, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd be good if we could just not suck like that.
I'm too much of a perfectionist and like wanting things to just go too well to like, go through that again. It does a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way. And I think
stopped dieting. Like, like that's how I stopped dieting because I felt like I needed to give everything to us playing, and I just couldn't be dieting and be at a worse version of myself for the team. That's how bad it was.
That's commitment. Kenny was prepared to be fat Kenny in order for the greater good of the team.
When I did my interview, yes, I was like 220 pounds, right? Let me live.
Well, we'll say I was doing the same thing. Mine was more just depression eating. Depression and stress.
That was mine too after scrims. My scrims are so bad. I need to eat. What's downstairs?
Yeah, I need a slice of pizza.
Like 3 peanut butter sandwiches, just upset.
Oh god, it was so bad. And then we'd have one day where like we'd have a great talk or a great VOD review one night, and then we'd all get on the next day, and Vic's like, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't sleep too good. I was up till 9 a.m. I didn't get to get my coffee this morning. My mom's bitching at me.
Bro, remember the one day the Uber Eats driver put his coffee in the same bag as his meal, so his coffee was all over his meal, and he has no coffee. Do you remember that day?
Yeah.
Like, at this point, like when that was happening, like I can't even. How do I even get mad? Like how do you get upset? How do you blame anything else? Like the universe wants us to be miserable, so we just have to be miserable.
We're trying so hard to like optimize our schedule, make sure everyone's sleeping well, getting their caffeine and their food in before scrims or tournaments. And Vic, like, bless his heart, Vic is actually like trying to like adjust to that schedule and make sure he's doing his part. And then he just gets screwed over by an Uber Eats driver. Or like Billy would like his food wouldn't get delivered. Like it said delivered, but it just wasn't there. Like what
Meanwhile, Rhodey's just eating his Chipotle bowl.
Yeah, like I don't
dealing with no issues.
And then somehow, speaking of being a perfectionist, like we pull a 16-0 map count for the event win out of our ass. Like, let me ask you, did you expect, like obviously you expect the best from your team and you expected to win, but did you expect a 16-0?
I didn't expect this. No, not at all.
What were you thinking?
I expected us to win the event, because that's obviously the expectation with the team that we have.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect the 16-0. I didn't even think us sweeping the event was possible until I think Saturday night finished. Because like when we played Rise Saturday night, that to me was going to be like the biggest like sign for us. Like, yeah, we beat, was it Hive and PK Friday?
Yeah.
But the PK win was 5-4, 5-4. And they did just beat Rise. I was like, okay, like, you know, maybe there's something with like us and the Rise matchup. Like maybe something is there. And it wasn't until we beat them, was like 5-2, 5-2. I think we beat them 10-4. When we beat them, that's when I knew like for a fact that like that was like the most realistic it felt for us to just sweep the event and just not lose a map in general. But even then, I was like, there's no way we just sweep the event, right? Like, we're gonna have to play PK. PK was like could potentially get a map this next time. Like we're gonna have to play them on Asylum. It's a strong map for them. It's like that's not something that could just like set in. You don't expect that. That never that's never something you go into a week and like, yeah, we're not going to lose a map on top of being the event that me and Vic sweep the season.
Yeah.
That's just not, like, you couldn't write that any better. If you, no, you just can't write that any better.
I mean,
There's nothing more to even add. You can't.
That's like a crazy fact too that I don't think got the attention that it, really deserved. Is, I don't know if that's ever been done in an esport, let alone, like, I mean, like, relative to like League of Legends, maybe like Faker's got something along those lines where he'd win like 2 pro leagues and then 1 Worlds or something like that. But I don't think in terms of like this kind of structure, anything like that's ever happened where, 2 players have swept an entire season winning every single event, and you guys did it with 2 different rosters. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it just speaks for itself,
Yeah, you're just a boss ass bitch kind of thing.
That's just what it is, There's nothing more that needs to be said.
You're just a mercenary. Well, I mean, like, realistically, like, you came onto Reciprocity, you convinced him to bring on Vic, because originally it wasn't Vic, it was Sleepy,
No,
right?
it wasn't even. It was Sleepy at first. It wasn't even like convincing. Like I think everybody wanted Vic, but we obviously dealt with, Vic's under contract with Rise. We had to deal with contract things, and I was the only person that was doing everything, and I did everything in my power to get him on my team, because like before, like going into Gears 5, for someone like me, I was in like the worst Gears of War point that any like champion or top player has ever been in, right? Like, and
minus maybe Lava.
Yeah, like maybe Lava, but even Lava was going to the game with Mazer.
Yeah.
At this point, like Lava's definitely dealt with some stuff like that. But I was definitely going through the worst point in my career, and I knew that like I needed to give it my all at the start of Gears 5, and I knew that, well, one, I didn't even think it was possible to get on Reciprocity when the game came out. It really came from my initial roster doing really well to even open up that opportunity, and honestly, Reciprocity shitting the bed. Like, this, people don't remember before me and Vic joined, or even I joined, and we had, was it Sleepy, me, Fran, Rush, Icy. Like, their team wasn't looking great. Like, yes, they went to, was it E-League? I don't know why I'm thinking something like E-League.
Yeah.
We went there, and they got what, top 4?
Yeah, they got top 4.
I think it was single limb. They got top 4, but then they went on to like release whatever. Like, so I end up there. Before me and Vic got there, the team wasn't looking great. It wasn't looking good, which is why they were even open the day before the qualifier to even like make changes that they were trying to make. It was really a day or 2 before the first qualifier.
Yeah, because didn't you guys have to play with Sleepy for one of the qualifiers, but it was like after he knew he was getting dropped or something like that?
It was all so weird. We were trying to work through. There was a point through the first qualifier too where Sleepy was actually going to be on the team, and we all wanted Vic. Yeah. I was just doing everything I could to get Vic. You know how I am. Like, that's like if I'm gonna do what I can to feel the most confident in my roster as I can. It's nothing. It's like Sleepy was playing great at the time too.
Yeah.
Like if people were to go watch, Sleepy was playing his role like the best that you could ask someone to play it. He's winning 1v1s, keeping us in rounds. He's doing well in team fights. Like, there was nothing against Sleepy. It was mainly that, how the fuck do you not want Vic, right?
Well,
like that's in my head.
Yeah, well, even on top of that, I don't think that team would have had enough slaying power. Like, and that's like nothing against anybody like of the 5 of you, but like your only slaying power like on paper would have been Icy or Rush or Icy, who like at the start of Gears 5, like I think now he's a better slayer than he was at the start of Gears 5. But
as he gotten more comfortable.
Yeah, because he's gotten more comfortable with the team, and he's gotten more comfortable with the game, and he's been putting in the hours like how Izzy does. But like on paper, it was really Rush, because I don't think Fran ever really like Fran can do his thing, but he doesn't ever really fit like that main Slayer role. That's not all. Like you're also not that. Sleepy's not really that. So like you needed that Vic.
Yeah. Again, like. how do you not want him on your team in general? Like,
yeah.
Even if you have the slaying power, he's one of those, like, he's one of those pieces that, like, if you can get somebody like him, you make it happen, and that's essentially where me and him were at. Like, it was a pretty miserable point going back to it.
I mean, you guys, like, you made it happen, and because I remember you talking to me about it,
Yeah.
like when it was happening, and
Yeah, I talked to you throughout the whole thing.
yeah,
You know about the whole roller coaster ride.
and I see that shows what a good friend I am, that I kept that all like, and then you guys, like, you came together as a team, and that made that team infinitely better, whether I want to admit it or not. And then you won back-to-back events, and then it was our turn to pull what you pulled. And I mean, like, this isn't one of the talking points. I mean, do you want to talk about that at all? Like, because I think there's also like a lot of misconceptions about like how that all went down, but I don't know how much you want to talk about all of that or not.
I've talked about it a decent amount. I feel like at this point it kind of speaks for itself. Like, you look at where our roster, look at where our roster got to, right? Like, yes, we struggled, but I don't think sweeping an event, let alone finishing the sweep of the season, would have been possible with the old roster. And it's just because of the work ethic and confidence and just even relationships that we have on this team right now.
Yeah.
It wasn't there on our previous roster. So there's not much I want to say on it besides, like, not that like me and Vic were right, but and I just,
You don't regret it.
I don't know. I don't regret it at all. Like,
Yeah.
If we went into this last event and like lost the last event, let's say we lost the event before at the Texas event, right? If we lost that, it wouldn't have been a regret, just because, like, this team has that potential every single day to, like, to be that best team, to always be that top team.
Yeah.
And if I could be on a team like that and not be miserable playing, then that's what I want to do. And Vic can speak for himself, but, like, for me, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I think Vic just wants people around him that, like, he can trust to do like to match what he's putting in. And as I'm recording this, there's obviously a thunderstorm going on, so I apologize for that in the background, but yeah, I'm always in thunderstorms whenever I'm talking to you. It's actually weird.
Texas and Florida.
Yeah, right. But I think a lot of people don't realize, and we'll not get into it, but like you mentioned the relationships. Like, I think it's really important for you, or for anybody as a competitor, to enjoy not only the game that they're playing, which, again, this will go into a later conversation, but the people that they're playing with, right? Like, if you don't have that bond, then you're not going to have that same level of in-game trust. You're not going to have that same level of wanting to hold yourself accountable because you want to win for the people around you as much as you want to win for yourself, kind of thing. So you and Vic obviously had that as like a duo, but I mean, your happiness level, I'm sure everybody has noticed, has gone up since coming here. And I don't think it's just the skill of the people around you. I think it's a lot of things, personalities and whatnot.
To touch on that for a second, that speaking on Vic, like, I actually love that kid, and I'm not kidding. He's the most responsible, like, he's the most responsible, like, 16 to 18-year-old. Because I started teaming with him when he was 16.
Yeah.
So, like, he's the most responsible 16 to 18-year-old. Like, especially in, like, his growth. Like, initially he needed a little bit of growing, but from 16 to 18, like, you would not think he is 18. I mean, if he's trolling you and he's saying that stuff, you would think he's 18. But like, as a teammate and what he brings to the table and his work ethic, like, you don't think he's 18 years old.
No, 100%.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about him, and I enjoy him, like, a lot as a teammate. I mean, he's obviously individually talented, right? Best player in the game, and then when he brings that extra stuff to the table, it's even better, right? And then you pair that up with, two teammates and you as a coach, that the last time I really saw myself having fun, and as corny as it sounds, like, smiling every single day when I got on. I mean, there's obviously days where I'm tilted, but besides those days, like, I'm getting on and smiling and happy to get on a majority of days. The last time I had that was when I was here with Billy and Gil.
Yeah, so the Optic roster.
Exactly. So when I'm able to come back to, I'll say, I don't even know, like three pieces of that with Vic, and then Arodi. When I team with Arodi back at the start of UE, like, I love playing with Arodi too. I got dropped then at that point too. So like this is an entire roster of people that I get on and I want to speak to on a daily basis.
Yeah.
People that aren't gonna get on and make me, not look forward to playing. There's not like dumb arguments going on. There's not, like there are these real relationships and friendships that are like here that just no other team has, and that's why honestly that's why we're even able to come back from what we were going through in that first major and win that tournament, and why we're able to do the complete opposite and 16-0 the next tournament. Like those relationships are so strong, that those friendships are so strong, and like the want to win for each other is so strong, on top of being the 5 best players. Like that's
well, yeah, I mean, like
that's a what is it? That's a recipe you can't beat. For someone like me, like
100%. And you see that, like, especially in those championship moments, right? Like if you think back to like that Asylum against Quarantine, in those like final moments, right? Like there was never a point in that round 9 where somebody is calling somebody else on the team off of a play that they wanted to make. Like there was never like a no, shut up, sit still, do this, like, oh, go here, or like, you know what I mean? Like everybody like was so focused in on what they were doing, and every time somebody said that they were going to make a play, there was never like an objection or a debate, which we do in scrims admittedly, but like in the moment, like when like the stakes are the highest and the pressure is the highest, there was like Vic, like I'm pushing, I got one mid, I'm going through their home, or like I even think he called out at some point, like I'm doing something weird mid, right? Like all right, bro, go for it. Like it's all yours.
The utmost confidence in each other and trust.
Yeah, and I think like that is where a lot of teams fall short, is like, like a lot of teams could hear that calm and be like, wait, what? And then they get to either look away from what they're needing to be focused on, and because they're worried about what their teammate just said or is doing, and not just trusting, what, fuck it, like whatever he's going to do is going to be the right play, or it's going to be something that helps me like win. You know what I mean? Whereas like with us, like there's never that doubt. Like no, you being up top, right, on Asylum, like near E Hill, you don't have to look down and like LB to see where Vic is and what dumb thing he's going to do, or like check to see if it's going to be a dumb thing. You're just like, all right, Vic's going to make a play. Like,
exactly.
So I think that's like an intangible that it's hard for teams to find. But I completely agree. I think in terms of responsibility, Vic he's a troll, and he's definitely got like those like the kid moments. But I think that's also like personality too. Like I think that's like a charm in a way. Like it's not a negative thing. It can be weird and annoying sometimes, but I don't even look at it as like a negative. I think like Vic sets the bar really high for up and coming players who have a lot of talent, because Vic will easily swallow his pride and say, yeah, I did that wrong, or I played that bad, or you're right, I should have done this instead, or oh, I see what you mean. Like he's very quickly to like, even when he's like playing out of his mind, kills 3 people and is in one of those moods where like what happened? How did we lose that? Like what the fuck? Like if you say, well, like you killed 3 people, yeah, but like you needed to be here, he'll be like, oh yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, that's my bad, I guess. Like he doesn't like buck up and try to fight for things. He's very easy to take. He takes criticism way better than any 18-year-old I've ever met. So he's a different breed.
He takes criticism better than 20-year-olds that are playing this game, 20 to 26-year-olds.
Yeah,
the maturity on him is insane, especially when he's been getting gassed his entire like Gears career, and like yeah, that obviously like it's gonna build up an ego, but when he doesn't bring that ego into scrims and has as much respect for his teammates as they do for him, like it's pretty incredible.
And I think
have I mentioned I love that kid, or
yeah,
yeah? No? Okay.
I think that's something that's always surprised me about Arodi too, is he's very similar in that regard. Like everyone knows him as like, loud, creative trash talker, like New Yorker, but like when it comes down to being smart about the game and taking criticism and feedback and applying it to his gameplay, like Arodi is almost unparalleled on that level on our team. Like I think he's honestly the best at it in terms of like just receiving like feedback and then working to improve off of that.
And when I first got here, that was one of the things I was not the most surprised about, but I expected to have debates, or like, I don't want to call them arguments, but like discussions, like, like the things teams need to do to be successful, like those conversations. Like I expected to have more of them with Rhodey and Gilbert that were just more of disagreements, I guess.
Yeah.
And for the amount of months, like it's been like 5-6 months now.
Something like that,
like
yeah.
5-6 months now. In the span of 5-6 months, I don't think there's been a moment where I'm just like, oh, I don't feel like I could talk to Gil or Rhodey, and like, I'm coming to like those issues. Like it was always with them two specifically. Whenever there was something that we could disagree on, like the result of it was always so easy to find and so easy to get to, and I wasn't expecting that, like, coming into the team. And that's not even when you look at them two from the outside looking in, even though I've teamed with both of them, you get the idea that there might be like that negativity or the, like, I don't know, like the difficulty to have those conversations from the outside looking in.
They have powerful personalities, which I think is why.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, and that's when you're actually here talking to them, as long as you're not spewing bullshit, like it's very easy to get on the same page with them. And even if there's something that isn't, they'll go right to like how many times have me, you, and Arodi sat here and just looked at things and had conversations over whatever and just like came to a conclusion together from watching the video very easily.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, yeah, no, it's something.
Well, I think like even in like there, I think off the top of my head over these 5 months, there's been like 1 or 2 times where like we've done that and not come to an agreement on how it should play. And it wasn't like one of those things where like we argue it to the death and then get mad at each other. I remember it ending like, all right, let's agree to disagree. Like we can try it both ways and see what happens, kind of thing.
See, I feel like that was more me and you.
Well, you and I have done that for sure, but like I know that there was one thing, I think it was on Vaskar, where Rhodey was like standing up for one of his points of views. Yeah, no, you were wrong. I still have VOD proof of that, but that's okay.
Here we go.
But I think like in terms of people who will like fight back, like Billy's probably the most like ready to fight back on something, but Billy also has a very different way of looking at the game.
Yeah. Defense 99.
Yeah, literally. But he looks at the game in a very different way. And like I've even talked to him like back in Gears 4 a little bit, like not even like a coaching or like coach to player conversation or anything like that, just like casual conversation. And I think it has to do with how he approaches like games in general. Like he finds a way that's logical to him, and then when things aren't following that like line of logic is when he like is the most like causes the most disagreements. But realistically, that is like a super rare thing.
Yeah.
But Billy, like I said, different breed. So and speaking of Billy, he's switching the COD after the he's trying to switch to COD after clean sweeping Gears. What a way that would be to go out. Yeah. What do you think about that?
16-0 his way to COD, and I hope he makes it. I hope somebody, if someone from COD happens to listen to this, I hope somebody takes a chance with him, because he's like, screw even like Gears player going on COD. Like, he is the best COD player that I have played even a ranked match with. And what I've seen him do in actual serious matches, because we actually scrimmed on World War II, right? So I've seen Billy in a competitive environment on Call of Duty. Like, he deserves to be like on a top level Call of Duty team. Like, he has that kind of talent, and he doesn't, not that he doesn't put the time in, but he doesn't put the same time in a Call of Duty as he does with like Gears, right? So if he was able to put that time in a Call of Duty, there's not a doubt in my mind that next season you could see mental MVP of the season. That's how good he is. Yeah. So I hope someone gives him the chance. I hope someone gives him that opportunity, because truthfully he deserves it. He deserves to go over there. I'd be nothing but happy for him. Like, it's
like, it would suck to lose him as a teammate, but it's also like it's 100% what's best for him as a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, when I look at Billy, like, the Billy would be so much better off in Call of Duty.
He'd be happier too.
Yeah, he he would enjoy the game. He would enjoy every aspect of it.
Because he doesn't like enjoy Gears. Like he, out of everyone on the team, he spends the least time on Gears. I mean, he was there was days where
4.
yeah, like there was days where he was like splitting time like between Apex, like being in an Apex tournament and our scrims, or even like our tournaments, and somehow balancing them. Like right now his grind is Valorant, and he's one of like he's near Radiant or close to it. So
he's Jesus at everything he touches.
It's insane. I truly wish like he had more of a drive to create content, especially to stream. Like screw doing YouTube and stuff like that. Like if he just streamed, he wouldn't even have to worry about joining a team or competing, because he would be so popular, not only for his like his talent, but he also has like the right amount of personality to like balance out his skill. You know what I mean? Like people would stay like just come because he's a freak of nature at whatever game he touches, and stay because he's funny enough to like keep coming back and watching. But I agree. I wish him like I hope he finds a team, and I hope a CDL team gives him a chance, because he could make any team out there better. Like even if Empire were to like, I mean, ignoring the 4v4 thing, like even if they were to drop someone else and pick up Billy, they would be a better team next year, given like the right amount of time. I'm like, I stand by that 1,000%. I don't know who he would replace, but I'm just saying like the way Billy operates, the way he puts his mind to something, and just the natural talent that he has, I'm convinced that he would be.
I don't think you'd be wrong.
So we'll shift over a little bit. Enough reminiscing and talking about that stuff, and we'll go into I guess kind of one of the reasons why Billy was inspired to tweet the way he did, and that is the current state of Gears. And we'll try to stay more on the more on the Gears esports side, and we'll try to keep this for both of our sakes as constructive as possible. Because for those of you who don't know, Kenny and I have had some very long and like toxic, those conversations depressing. Toxic. But those conversations that you have with your close friends where like it's so depressing that you just end up laughing at it, like out of like sorrow. Kenny and I have had those about Gears and Gears esports. So we'll try to keep this on the constructive side of the spectrum, and talk about kind of the changes that have been happening since the season finals ended. I think the first thing that we've seen is the new structure. Well, UMG taking over and the new structure. So what are your thoughts on this new structure with 3 majors and then a couple minors thrown in there, the Pro League being combined, North America, LATAM? Let's talk about that.
I think all those things are good. I like what UMG is doing with the, like, I guess I'll just call it the structure of everything. I like the Pro Leagues being during the week rather than on Sunday. I like the regions being combined. I like the minors, I like the majors. I like that idea. The only thing that I could see being better, and this is actually something I didn't think of. I was talking to Gilbert recently, and he made an extremely good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of this stuff is great for the pro scene, but I think UMG or the coalition, like I don't know what's gonna happen after this season, or if they're gonna improve, like, whatever their plan is. I think the only thing that could be improved from here is making the challenger scene more enticing to players who maybe would play Halo or maybe are playing Call of Duty. Like they need to do something with the challenger scene that makes players from those other games even want to compete in just the challenger section on Gears. And if they make that better to where like other players would want to come over and try and play, then it'll make the situation in challengers better for people who are like here now, because you see a lot of people quitting, coming back, coming back. If they did something to make the challenger scene more enticing, it would benefit everybody. And that's the only criticism I have. I actually think this is the best structure that we've seen for pro play. And the only other thing is, and I'm like torn on this whole like topic, but I like the idea of a 2K,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have like a pro league during the week and then a tournament on the weekend for pro league teams, but I don't know, I'm just
I think the way
there's
to
not
get
enough
that
for.
I think the way to get that 2K feel would be expanding the emergence days to be more than 8 teams. Like maybe make
Yeah,
it so that it's based off the pro league. Like all the pro league teams are allowed to play. If a pro league team can't make it, then an AM team can fill in. So it's 12 teams. But then say 4 teams get a first round bye based off of the
yeah,
seed of the other UMG tournaments, or based off the seed of the pro league or something like that. Because realistically, like the 2Ks are great, but the first 3 rounds of the 2K were boring.
yeah. If you just had the later rounds of the 2K,
Yeah, like once you
and
started playing like the kind of like mid-tier semi-pro teams, so it was like top 16, top 8 matches, top 4 matches. Like those rounds, especially early on in Gears 4 when there was a lot of teams, like those were good matches. Those were like more fun. It wasn't even for like back then, it wasn't super competitive. Like we'd win those like 7-3, 7-4, something like that. But it was still like better than, Alex is still asleep and we're 7-0 a team 4v5.
yeah.
So
It also gives players something to stream. Like I know we can't stream the emergence days right now, and
yeah,
I'm still not sure if we're allowed to like stream the pro league matches or not. And even then, if we're able to stream a pro league match, it's not the best thing to just turn your stream on for potentially 2 to 3 maps and then, all right guys, see you later. Like that's
yeah.
you don't
Well, you
you
had
don't
the
get that
downtime,
streaming. Yeah,
like the downtime in the 2Ks where like, the team's chilling and talking to each other or playing in warm-up lobbies. Like, no, that's a really good point. Like those streaming are those things
also
to
not my point.
stream.
That's a Gilbert point.
Like, okay, that's a good point from Gilbert. Like those things to stream were really good for the community, because that's when Gil was pulling those 1,000 viewer streams. So
Yeah, and I think
agree.
that's something they need to be able to like incorporate in here. Like that's to me that's the next 2 things that for them to improve the structure. That's what it needs to be. Make the challenger scene enticing enough without hurting the pro scene. Make the challenger scene more enticing, and then give pros more things to stream. Give us tournaments. Give us something like give us a 2K similar thing without losing what we have, because it just makes it better. Just like make it very clear and concise.
Well, do you think there's like something that you have in mind that could be more enticing for the challenger scene? Because the way I look at it is, with the way the game is, and the way the esport is right now, I think those are kind of like the main points that entice people, right? Like people are like, Billy's enticed to go to COD because, one, franchising and money and job stability, but two, a good quality game. And we're kind of missing like both of those marks. We're not at the point where we're happy with our game and we have a good quality game, and we're not at the point where we're happy with our esports. I mean, we are not happy with our game mode. We're not happy with the new structure is better, but we haven't experienced it yet. The prize pool obviously is a massive blow. So I think that's where like that challenger enticement comes in. I mean, was there something else that you thought might help?
I feel like you want me to say something, and I just, I'm not catching the clue.
No. I was just, if there was like an idea like added onto
I feel
that.
like the way you lined it up, you want me to be like, yeah, this, and like I just didn't. It went over my head. I missed it. No, there's not. I don't know. Like that's in my head. Like when I think about it, like obviously money, right? The number one thing that entices people is money,
Yeah.
right? There's all the statements about money. I feel like the challenger scene right now, like what does the challenger scene from last season have to play for? Every weekend they're playing a 2K, right? Their version of a 2K, and the winning team gets, is it $300, $500?
So,
It's
I don't know.
$500, 300 to first, two, like I don't know. It's like something like that where they get $100 a week or $80 a week if they win, like something like that. And for anyone who's enticed about making the switch over, they're not like yeah, I'm gonna go play Gears in the Challenger section, win $100 a week, which turns out to be $400 a month if my team wins them all, and then go to the major and do whatever. I almost feel like the Challenger scene needs more of a money incentive for people to be like I want to play in the Challenger scene for this much money, right?
Yeah.
Kind of give them like, yeah, you're not the best, you're not playing for this. Let's say we had a $2 million prize pool again. If they did 1.5 for the pro scene and 500K for the challengers, and they gave them, and that's shooting high, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
just throwing numbers out there. If they gave them that incentive, you'll see people like, all right, like this is more worth my time now, because
Yeah.
money is what speaks, right? Like it speaks to people like this. You're now giving me more of a reason to play. And yes, it's taking away from the pro scene, but the pro scene's getting 1.5. Like, pros can't complain at that. And you need more people playing the game. You need reasons for people to play the game. And I think that would be the biggest thing for me, is like kind of realign that money into your challenger scene.
Yeah. Well, I think,
and then obviously the game needs to be fun, so people need to want to play it.
yeah. Well, I think like that right there is kind of like where you have to start, right? Because you can't just throw money at something that's like not a good product. Like if you're trying to I'm trying to think of a way to make a metaphor out of this without pissing off too many people at the coalition. But if you're like
shit and expect it to be successful,
like you can't you can't like sit here and try to sell me like an old original like Game Boy Color with a cracked screen and put all of this money into marketing to make it more enticing to buy, but I still know that it's an old Game Boy Color with a cracked screen. So I feel like the root of the problem right now, and I think this is going to resonate with like pros as well, is if the game itself isn't enjoyable, like you don't see pros wanting to go play the game. That nobody plays like regular Gears right now. Like the only thing that you'll see them occasionally playing, and that's if there's nothing else, is King of the Hill or maybe like the 2v2 stuff. But realistically,
wagers.
Yeah, like the even wagers is like our own made up kind of game. You know what I mean? Like it's
something we created.
Yeah, it's like we set our own rules and like GA'd everything but certain things, and that's what people play like for fun. It's not escalation, it's not regular king, it's not TDM or execution or gridiron or any of these other like band-aids that they've tried to put on. So I feel like the effort needs to be directed into making it fun, and the pros then being bought into like, oh, this is actually fun. Like I'll want to stream and play this. Like even for me, right? Like I'm not a pro player, but I used to stream and have fun days of solo queuing escalation in Gears 4. But like in this game, even when it was a playlist, which it's not a playlist now because it was so dead, I couldn't solo queue it because of the live system. Like it just seems like they've put the efforts and the resources into the wrong parts. And now because of those mistakes that they've made, it's not our fault, right? Like we gave feedback and it wasn't heard or it was ignored. Because of those mistakes that were made, now other aspects of the game and the esport are being punished. The viewership's not as good as it should be, in theory, for a AAA title on a console. So, and for whatever other reasons, like the prize money is now cut by 75%. We have regions being cut out completely, which like that's a whole other topic and debate that I don't think we should get into. So I feel like you have to start at the root. Like if the game's not fun, like nobody gives a crap how much money you throw at the challenger scene. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, you're 100% right. Man.
We can go there. We're only 49 and a half minutes in. We can go there. We got time.
Look, I've been more toxic. All right. I was gonna say I've been more vocal on Twitter. Like just like I remember seeing the like the layout for like NA and Latin America being brought together, and like that whole post, and just tweeting out game sucks, program sucks. And that's like you just heard me say that I think that the program for like on the pro side is an improvement, and there's just so much. I don't know how much I want to get into this because it'll get pretty bad. Um,
Well, I'll
but
help
like
you.
touching on the region stuff, like the fact that like they cut out Australia, Europe, and South America, right? I
two of those made
understand
sense to me.
Australia makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Like they could barely play the game in general. That's another thing. Like why can Australians not decide to play on the East or US South or whatever it is to find games so they can actually play your title? Why are we forced into, and I'm putting myself into this too, why am I forced and why are they forced into their server being decided for them and never being able to find a game?
Mm-hmm.
You're killing off scenes with that, and they've been saying it for however long. Like why is that thing? But Australia makes sense to get cut off because they can't play the game. Europe, that doesn't make sense, right? They went from having a pro league and having their own finals to having nothing. Now you just pretty much drop kick them out of Gears of War. Like
Yep.
you just see you later. Like they can barely. I've seen multiple Europeans try to play ranked and they can't even play ranked. They need a US East person or a US person to get in the lobby with them, invite them, then they can play. But they can't play without it. That's the only way they can play, and that's not like it's not okay, right? So that doesn't make sense. So to take away what they can play when they're a region that is worth supporting doesn't make sense. And then South America, I think you were going to say isn't worth supporting, but at the same time, I think South America doesn't need like a huge amount of support because I believe they could play with NA. Like I'm just going to call it NA, like US and Mexico, like Latin America, like combining that. Like they could play there. So they still can technically play. So if like that's how they're looking at that and they didn't really lose South America, then all right, cool. But you know, if you're going to support that region and it's not being said to just like combine that in there, then I don't know. It's just not the right move.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's we can't have the game in the state that it's in from the start of the game. The game gave off a better illusion than what we actually saw. And when we like before the game came out, things seemed like they were going to be pretty good. When we got the game, we all quickly learned that we just got handed essentially a pile of shit in the versus section.
Well, we were lied to. Yeah, I think that's the part that pisses me off the most is how much we were lied to. And this isn't all of like Microsoft or the coalition. This is mostly one person who is no longer there.
Yeah.
But we were lied to. I mean, he was on this podcast lying to my face. That's why I lost respect.
This is when you should go like link back, like, you know, lies or whatever. But
I'm too lazy to do that.
No, it's it's bad. So we got handed a bad game from launch that didn't start getting fixed until 6 months ago, right? Like they didn't start really trying to fix all of these problems till 6 months ago. I applaud the coalition at this moment. At this moment, not for what we were handed, not what was going on. I applaud them in this moment for putting in the resources and what they need to fix this game. The fact that it took almost a year to get a working rank system, and like they had to like fix that and bring it in. The store system is a huge improvement. You see obviously a lot more characters. I'm just thinking of things that people complain about on launch. The mechanics are getting improved over time. Slow down the movement speed still, please. There's those extra things that still need to be fixed, but like they're working on fixing these things. And like I applaud them for trying to fix it, right? Like they're saying there's more maps coming. They're saying that they're fixing these things. Like I applaud them for doing that, but in reality, they threw $2 million at a circuit that was on a game that was set up to fail, that people did not find fun. And even if the game was set up perfectly for 5v5 escalation with a bunch of maps, with all of that stuff, I still think us as a competitive scene has been set up to fail due to the fact that we're still 5 versus 5. We're 5 versus 5 on escalation that got more complicated, that's harder for a viewer to follow, that's harder for people to get into the game. There's the big barrier into esports. There's a barrier for esports already, and now there's a bigger barrier there because we're playing a game mode that, like, even on Gears 4, people couldn't wrap their heads around, and it got more difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think I think like let's pretend that the game came out polished and good, like in a good spot. Let's pretend that everything else stayed the same. $2 million circuit. We had good orgs, like big orgs involved at the beginning of it. So let's pretend all of that stayed the same.
Right.
I think there were ball drops on the esports front too. I mean, like our esport,
oh, yeah, 100%.
our esport had the same attention to it that like my TikTok has attention to it, and that's pretty much none, right?
I didn't even know you had a TikTok.
Yeah, well, a lot of people didn't know that we had pro league matches on Sundays for the first 3 weeks. Like,
that's true.
Like, we had no social media presence from our official Gears esports account or from the Gears of War account, whereas in Gears 4 we had front page of the game every fight night, right? Like, you saw Gilbert's face or Billy's or Fran's or whoever's, like, right there in the game. You had to see it before you even got to play the game, right? So we had that, and we took a step backwards, so we couldn't even get tweets. We had a company who was running the program who wasn't familiar with the esport and was there because they won a contract. I mean, like,
money.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, I don't know the fine details of it, but it wasn't because they came in going like, look, we have this massive passion for Gears, let us do it. Like, no, it was they won the bid. So I think, from an event perspective, they did a good job. I'll give them that. But and of course, then you compare to E-League and it's not even close. But
yep.
But nothing will compare to that.
That was fantastic.
Because we've done ESL, MLG, PGL, and E-League, and E-League was different, but it was also not an open event. Anyways, before I get off into how much I loved Gears 5 and during E-League, we like our content as an esport, like the videos and the production stuff, like there was great production like pieces about players, but no stories were ever told. Like it's great that I mean, I don't even remember some of the pieces they put out at this point, which like goes to show like how little impact they had. You know what I mean? Like I like they put out these like they did one on me, right? But like it doesn't tell a story or build a fan base for me. It just like it wasn't structured that way. It was almost like a little like, hey, here's Ashes, here's who he is kind of piece.
Yeah, it's kind of like a background information section. Like if there's a tab for you that's just background info, like
literally
you're clicking that in the video.
Like if you had taken like my like LinkedIn bio and put it into a video, like that's what it could have been, right? Like, or my about me section on my website, like that's what that could have been, rather than, or that's what that was, rather than telling like, like why people should attach to me and be a fan of me and the teams that I work with. And same thing for every person, like every player, especially the players that they did pieces around. They were really well shot and well done, but it seems like a lot of money dumped into something that didn't build any storylines. You like the All Access series, I don't know how much money was put into that, but I know a lot of effort was put into that. And I'm pretty sure every single video I've uploaded has done more views than any of those. So like, I don't know what was going wrong there. But I mean, I my honest opinion was it was boring. Like it was just boring content. It was regurgitated, scripted stuff about an esport that people didn't pay attention to when it was live. So why would they care about the recap? It didn't do anything to develop stories and have people latch on. And you and I talked about it. Like some of the most hype and viewed moments of Gears, especially over the last couple of years, were fueled by players' drive and love for the game and the competition, and that passion leading to fun story-driven moments and the hype trash talk around it. So Praise talking trash, his first event on our team and your first event over there with Icy, like that whole moment, it was viral because of the passion.
That's the biggest Gears was. Like when it came to Twitch, that was the biggest and most Gears esports attention that
New Orleans event.
Yep, and that was because of Arodi or Praise's shit talk on Friday.
And that storyline.
Oh no, shit talk on Saturday. My fault.
Yeah.
Shit talk on Saturday that led into us eventually playing a grand finals on Sunday. Mm-hmm. People wanted to see that, and then when we won the first map, that only like built up the, the interest in it because
oh shit,
it was personal. Like it was personal, and there was actually a chance for us to potentially do something. So
Yeah.
people were interested. It's
Yeah.
not because they were interested in Gears of War the game or things like it was. They were interested in that storyline.
Yeah.
And I thought like that's you're bringing me to another point of like these artificial storylines, like there's these like unnatural storylines that just aren't fueled by passion of the players is not gonna make people want to watch Gears. It's like esports, the competitive scene want to follow it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's being
That's
attacked on
what
both fronts.
to.
Yeah, no, it's being attacked on both fronts. Like the passion of the players has gone down because their love for the game has gone down, and at the same time, the storylines that are there, while they're not as strong and as passionate as before, there still are storylines in Gears. They're just not being told well. And instead of the days of Gears 4 where we're encouraged to talk trash, and Jack used to call us the UFC of esports, and she, like would love it. Like literally we're going up on stage to interviews and she's going like, talk trash. Like, like, what do you think about them? I heard they said this about your mom. Like, well, she didn't say that, but you know what I mean? Like she was encouraging.
No, she probably did say that behind the scenes. Like just like
she was encouraging that because like that would build like oh yeah, they said what yeah, okay, I'll tell you what I think. But like now we're being encouraged to like, we've got orgs looking at us, and we've got like these brands and stuff, and we've got the esports side telling us like, oh, you be careful about technicals and warnings and no cussing and don't do this and don't do that. And it's like all of these restrictions got put on the UFC of esports. So no longer is there that trash talk, that battle, or like that hype, and then the battle and the clash, and then the good games afterwards, and the shaking of hands, and you have a winner and a loser. It's, it's PG, even though the game's, not.
Yep. Gears is not embracing what it is on all fronts.
It's trying too hard to be something else. I don't know what that is, but I feel like it's trying too hard to be something else. And I mean, I've seen other esports complain about that. Like COD has complained about like how they miss like the old days where COD got crazy, but like in their case, it makes sense. It's franchised. But I think like when orgs left Gears, maybe that was taken as like we need to calm down our player base. But I think like from an org perspective, a lot of the problem is sponsors don't want to get, like, the current sponsors that are often involved in esports don't want their name tied to like a game like Gears. And the only reason CSGO gets away with, like, being the game that it is, like humans killing each other, red blood, terrorists planting bombs, the only way it gets away with that is because it's already so large. But even then, there are some sponsors who aren't thrilled about having their name tied to a game that has that theme. But I still think there's a place for Gears if it pushes that idea of we are the UFC of esports. I always, ever since I heard Jack say that, like early on in Gears 4, I've loved that metaphor. I just think that somewhere in the transition of Gears 4 to Gear 5, that idea got lost. And I think the content took a nosedive. The ability to tell the stories took a nosedive, whether that falls on the content or the casters. I mean, I think it falls on both. I think there was a lot of balls dropped in that regard. And the players are in a way being silenced. Not maybe in an official capacity where we're getting like, people are sliding in our DMs, but I mean, that has happened. Like I'm not going to mention specific stories, but I have heard like and seen screenshots of moments where players have said things and then been messaged being told, hey, I don't know about that one.
Yep.
So I think if the game got put into a good state, we still need better support for the esport. But it sucks because now, rather than recognizing that, like, it almost feels like the thing I criticize AM players for the most, and not being able to recognize their own mistakes and like then making the changes to fix them. It's like oh, well, you know, like there was all COVID happened, so we had to cut the budget. Well, like, yeah, but COVID didn't cut our viewership. If anything, it should have increased it. Like, COVID didn't make it so we couldn't post on Twitter for the first 3 seasons of Pro League. Like, COVID didn't make it so that, you know, the escalation is what it is. COVID didn't make the game not feel finished. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there needs to be a moment where they go like, look, we messed up. They've acknowledged that they're working to make the game better, which I like you said, I respect. But I think that needs to be done for the esport.
Is the best way to put it, because the fact that they're still gonna do that is appreciated.
Yeah, I appreciate that they're doing that, and it's going to be a lot of work, and I don't think it's I'm past the point where I'm hopeful. Unfortunately, like I'm past the point where I'm sitting here going, well, fingers crossed, like in TC we trust. I just don't. I like the trust has been broken. So like,
you know better than anyone else that like, yeah, mine's gone too. And you know why. Like, you know what I'm trying to do. Like so you know when somebody like me who, for as long as I can remember waking up, like the thing I wanted to do was play Gears, and the drive to play the game has gone down because I don't think Gears of War 4 or Gears of War 5 should even be titled Gears of War games with how they play. That's my personal opinion. And I just don't have the hope. Like I want to really badly have the faith that this season of esports won't be the last.
Yeah. I would like to have that faith too.
And I just don't. Like there's no sign to me that points to, don't worry about it, you'll definitely have another season.
Well, I mean, even
I think that's a lot of people. I think that's like AM players, pro players. Like Gears feels like it's in a point of like, this is it. Like this is, you know, you like when I'm thinking about myself, like, all right, you flew to so many different places, you competed at so many different events, you got so many. I had so many memories tied around this game, and this last season is a chance to relive it just a couple more times online,
which isn't even the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
that's what it feels like.
It's like heartbreaking too to know that it's not even like we get like like players in Call of Duty or players in League. I think League's the best example, where they get to go, or CS:GO even, where they get to go out on their own terms in a way. Like, you know what? I've lost the drive, or I have, you know, wrist pains, or whatever the reason is. I think it's time for me to stop. It's been fun. Thank you. You know, good luck to the next generation who fills my shoes. For us, it's like we haven't even gotten that chance. Like, we're not done. Like, if the game was still good, if the game was still fun, if the game had a thriving esports scene, it doesn't even have to be thriving. Like our esports scene, that's another misconception too, is like our esports scene has never been thriving. It's just been, it was like it was lower than Halo. Like in old Gears 1 and Gears 2, like Halo was the esport for console. We were just along for the ride. We had a passionate community. But I mean, I don't know what viewership was like, but I can't imagine it was anything compared to Halo's viewership. And then it was dead. Like it got dropped from MLG circuit. Gears 3 was purely community driven until the very end. And then Gears UE was the start of the rebuild. Gears 4 was the rebuild and looking promising with some questionable multiplayer decisions. And then Gears 5 went back down. I feels like we're back on par with the beginning of UE, where there's like some money being thrown at it and we're not really certain what's going to happen.
We're on a roller coaster ride. Like in UE to 4 was going up, and now feels like we're on the way back down and about to exit the ride.
Except it's not fun going down on this roller coaster.
Yeah, it's not fun. My hands are not up. Like
it's like a very slow down. The fast part was going up. It's a weird anti-gravity roller coaster. Anyways, I think I don't know, man. It's just like I don't know about you, but like as a coach, I don't feel done. I feel done in the term, like in the sense of given the cards that we're dealt right now, I'm ready to leave. But given like Gears, like I'm not like I don't feel like I'm done coaching. Like I would love to win more championships. I don't feel like I can't coach anymore, and coaching's obviously not playing. But you know, my goal is moving into management at some point full time, and I don't feel like I'm 100% ready for that shift. I don't know. It's weird. It's like when you eat food, but you're still hungry. You know what I mean? Like you're just not fulfilled. So for you as a player, like I can't imagine it's any different. And you've been around.
It feels like, I've been around for a while. Nah, it feels exactly how you're saying. I remember, and like I'll tie this back in and it'll make sense because it goes with what you're saying. Like I remember when I got dropped by Optic, right? And I was on the phone with my mom, and I was telling her that, I was pretty much saying like, pretty much like what you're saying. Like I'm like, this isn't the end of me, and I'm just like, I'm gonna make it back, and like my goal, for whatever reason, it's my goal, is I want to be the best Gears player that's ever played. Now, will other people see that? No, but for me, I'm not satisfied. I'm not. Yeah, I just swept the season with Vic. Yeah, we won these events. Yeah, I came back from something that you sure as hell would not see any other pro player come back from. Yeah, I've done that, but for me, that's still not enough. It's not. I'm not satisfied with what I've done yet, and when I'm satisfied with what I've done is when I'll retire, and I don't feel like I'm at that point yet. And I told my mom, like I said, I want to be the best Gears player ever. And right now, it feels like that I don't feel like I am that, so I'm not ready to retire. But I feel like I'm like, because of like the state of the game, the esport, just all the stuff that's going on. Like I'm not even gonna be able to have the opportunity to feel like I'm that.
Yeah, like you're being forced to accept the condition rather than like reach it and be satisfied with it on your own.
Exactly. And that's the most like depressing part about this whole thing. I've been playing Gears of War almost every day since, I'll say, like 2009, 2008, 2009, when Gears 2 came out. Like it's been an almost every day, multiple day a week thing for me since that time. To put that into perspective for people who don't know how old I am, I'm 26 now. In 2008, I was 14. Since I was 14 years old, this is what I've done. And this all sucks, bro.
See, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast, where we reached that point.
Go ahead.
It's so depressing that you have to laugh.
Yeah, it's actually like, it's depressing because it's not like we haven't said the right things as a group. We just haven't been heard. We've been ignored. And I go back to what Eternity said when they flew us out to the playtest, or the playtests for Gears 4, and like just talk about the new games, where we were flown out there just to, I pretty much was flown out there to say, yeah, I've been to Canada. I had some food out there.
I had poutine.
The weather's nice. Yep, had some poutine, and that's it. Like they brought us out there for nothing. The only time it felt like rewarding, or it was a good thing that we went out there, was the playtest in between. And it's not even like, I guess it's a playtest between season 1 and season 2 of Gears 4, and even that didn't really get us far. It didn't bring us to the promised land. It was a little improvement, but what I want to harp on more, because I feel like we're coming towards like the end of this. What I want to harp on the most is, and you've been harping on it, this formula for Gears of War, or Gears 4 and Gears 5, is not it. I think Gears 5 is closer than Gears 4 is to feeling like a Gears of War game, but Gears of War is not meant to be this fighting game shooter hybrid that it kind of plays as now. Like I shouldn't be getting on Gears of War 5 feeling like I need to press my A button more than I need to press RT. RT being shoot, by the way, for anyone who doesn't play the game. Like, that's not what Gears is. Gears is about positioning. Gears is about teamwork. Gears is about those 1v1 fights that aren't about hitting your A button 100 times or closing the distance really fast and getting whatever kills. Like, that's not what Gears of War is. Right? Yes, the rank system being improved is great. The story being improved, great. Like, these extra things, are needed to make the game more successful. But the biggest thing that needs to happen is we need to, come to the conclusion that there needs to be a huge, and I mean it when I say a huge culture change in the way Gears game, like the Gears play style is just like how it is in general. The game plays too fast. When you play Gears 1 or Gears 2 at the time, the game never played fast. Yes, you can get on Gears 2 and people could play faster, but I'll get on Gears 2 right now and do minimal movement and still like kill people and have flashy, interesting kills.
Yeah.
You still get that on Gears 2 TU6 in 2020. The game came out in 2009, and it's on the worst update that ever came out for the game. And it still has more personality than Gears 4 and Gears 5 combined. And I think that the Coalition needs to do whatever job needs to be done to get us from that point of, away from what we are at right now, slow the game down, and increase the skill gap in the game, because that's really what Gears is about. Like, accept what Gears is. We are the UFC of, esports. We are a heavy skilled game, and I don't mean that as like the most mechanical skilled is making the game as fast as possible and people slapping their A button and dodging shots. No, make it Gears even in a slower state is more skillful than, like, more individually skilled than other games like Call of Duty, Halo, even Counter-Strike at the highest level. Like, yes, there's so many team things that Counter-Strike players like understand, but at a top level, it's hard for pro players to separate themselves. Like, all these pro players understand the same thing. In Gears, it was unique that you have your players that just heavily separate themselves, and I could start throwing out old names of people who were at that level and whatever else, but I don't even think a majority of people would understand it at this point. So that's my biggest thing that I want to just, the message I want to drive across. Gears of War, accept what Gears of War is, not what Gears 4 and Gears 5 and even Gears 3 was. I was on Gears 3 just the other day. Gears 3 is similar to Gears 4 and 5 with how people play it and the way it's played. Yes, Gears of War 3 was popular, but Gears of War 3 also was the biggest start to the downfall of Gears. And the Coalition needs to move it away from that. If you or we want to get to a better point, it needs to start with that. The game like this, Gears 3, Gears 4, Gears 5, will not do it. It won't.
Do you think Gears 3 was the biggest fall or start to the downfall, or would you say, like, because I feel like from a neutral perspective, I could argue that it was Gears 2, and I love Gears 2. Like, I'm on the same page with you as I think Gears 2 is the epitome of what Gears should be, with changes. But Gears 2 was when it was when Gears got dropped from the MLG circuit. It was when events were not even getting 32 teams signed up.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it was also at a point though.
You did have to glitch your Xbox in order to scrim. That didn't help.
I was just gonna bring up that esports wasn't as accepted back then.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you would be playing games competitively, wanting to go to these events. There weren't large prize pools. There wasn't large incentive for people to go. And I'm not sitting here claiming Gears 2 is the greatest thing ever, but looking at that period in time, there's other reasons, there's other factors in why the game failed, like, quote unquote, like MLG wise. Like, Gears 3 didn't even get an MLG circuit, so like they didn't get, if it weren't for Hypha Station, they wouldn't have gotten anything.
Yeah.
And that's like I think Gears 2 around the time when it got dropped, it wasn't because of the game. I think it was because of the period in time. And if you gave like an improved Gears 2 now, then I think people would enjoy it. I think it would be very successful because it is very much a slower Gears 5. Is very much more skillful Gears 5, and I pin most of the negativity starting with Gears 3 just because like just to get like specific into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gears 2, the TU6 shoddy was like one of the worst things about it. But Gears 2 had probably some of the best maps that the Gears franchise, like with a single game, has seen. Right?
Yeah.
Like people love Jacinto, Pavilion, Avalanche. I mean, shit, they just brought back Blood Drive for the 700th time. People love that map for some reason. You know, you had a bunch of good maps on that game. Security was good. So you look at that with that game, but even with TU6, which is the worst update for the game, the movement restrictions that kept the game still playing slower don't apply to Gears 5, and they actually got changed in Gears 3. In Gears 2, you couldn't air cancel and chain it right into a roadie run in the same animation until Gears 3. You couldn't, like, the roadie run, a roadie strafe wasn't possible until Gears 3. The walk speed was slow as hell in Gears 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the TU3 shotgun was much weaker than the Gears, or the TU6 shotgun, and I'd even make the argument that it's weaker than the Gears 5 shotgun. It's actually close to the Gears 4 shotgun. Gears 2 TU3 was very much a slower Gears 4 with the competitive shotgun.
Weren't the
people loved it.
Weren't the sensitivities also much like different for Gears 2? I know they were for Gears 1.
They were low, medium, high. You didn't have the ability to customize it, but high on Gears 2 feels faster than my sensitivity on Gears 5, and I played 25s.
Okay.
So it might be like 26s, like just a little bit faster kind of thing. And I'm also playing on 30 frames, so that could have an impact. But you know, like it feels very comparable to my sensitivity. So it's not like it was slow. High wasn't slow.
Okay.
So
it wasn't even like a sensitivity issue. It's like the other stuff.
It's the other stuff. It's what you're allowed to do. It's, you know, another thing too. You can back A. That they treated Gears 4 and 5 like it was UE. They allowed you to back A off of covers instantly. That Gears 4 eventually changed to where you can LT on covers instantly, and that also takes away a huge timing and skill aspect of Gears of War that was there in Gears 2. To me, I think Gears 2 TU3 is the most skilled version we have ever seen Gears. And all of those things were there, and you even see it still in TU6 when you go to shoot in certain ways and take fights. You know, you don't have every possibility in front of you. Like an up A isn't available in every single fight on Gears 2.
Yeah.
It might be there 60% of the time or 50% of the time, but it's not there all the time. On Gears 5, I feel like it's there all the time. In Gears 4, I feel like it's there all the time. So you don't have this whole playbook available every play. It's, you know, it depends on the situation. You'll have a legitimate right and wrong answer. Like, I was sitting on cover, this guy went to push me, he went to up A me, so, or like he wants to up A me, so because I know he wants to up A, you know, here's how I'm going to counterplay what I know he wants to do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not every play. Like, all right, this guy wants to walk white on me in this fight, and my ideal play is up A on the other side of the cover, like staying behind this bench and continuing to trade shots with him. But you know, like it was different. You know, it was much harder to close distances and all that stuff. And I know it's like a dive down the mechanics side of it, but I truthfully think that's where Gears needs to start, because Gears has not been Gears of War to me. I don't even include UE, because UE was probably the closest thing, but it was a Gears 1 and 3 hybrid. Like, they even openly said they included Gears 3 aspects into Gears 1, and like that even to me doesn't feel like what Gears truly was, because on that game we were still backing people's covers. We were pistoling each other and then backing every cover. That's not Gears of War, man. Like, that's not. I'm sorry. Like, yes, it's better than Gears 4 and 5, but it's not. It's still not Gears of War. Like, Gears of War has been Gears of War to me since Gears 2, and I'll say TU3, and that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean that's a really long time ago. Yeah, I think the even just going outside the mechanics, I think the sentiment of what you're saying is true, and you know, I can relate this back to a specific moment, and you will probably remember this moment, and I don't think this breaches my NDA.
Oh shit.
Here, fingers crossed. Where we were at a playtest, pre Gears 5. It was the one that you and I were both at, and Node Zero was talking about how they really wanted to incorporate rifle play into Gears 5, and they added the hit markers and stuff like that. Do you remember that?
I do, but I'm pretty sure the breaches NDA. Fuck it, go ahead. Yeah, I do.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that moment, like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, that I mean, we know that there's hit markers in the game, so that doesn't breach anything. Everyone knows we were at that play test. That doesn't breach anything. But like,
I mean, yeah, at this point, yeah, everyone knows that happened. So yeah.
Well, they were even tweeting about us being there when like we were there. So like, or right after.
True.
So
true. Okay.
It's like, that's kind of like how you know the direction of like they were looking was to try to take it and make it something that Gears wasn't. So I think you're entirely right. I think Gears needs to go back to being Gears. I think as an like even outside the mechanics, I think from a game mode perspective, I think we need to ditch escalation. I think we need to find execution 2.0.
You just like, you put it in like the best way possible. Gears of War and Gears 1 and Gears 2 were built off the shotgun and the movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about what most pro players like playing are these UMGs. Screw even just pro players. A majority of competitive players like playing these shotgun, pistol, smoke UMGs because it's the closest we have to just like, we just want to play with the shotgun.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not saying remove the Lancer from the game because we saw that worked in Judgment, but like, people want the shotgun movement side of Gears to be the biggest part of it. And
I mean, that's what Gears is. That's what Gears has always been. Like a little bit of support fire, not rifle play. It's not COD. It's a little bit of support fire to get them hurt enough so that you have the advantage in the shotgun fight. Like, everything builds up to the shotgun fight. That's for the objective, aka the boom, the sniper, the whatever.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing that they've moved away from, and they need to unmove away from it and put the highlight back on the shotgun. And I'm hesitant to say the movement because they might take that as making it faster, but no. Like,
crank it all up to 10, boys. Kenny wants the movement back.
Like, I hate these, like, and I mean it, like, I hate these anime avatars, and like, that is such a like a broad subtweet, but I hate them every time they say make the slide 700, and why, like, I could already see it now. If they had delays and they had to work around certain timings, like, why are you taking away my ability to shoot it every second when I'm spamming my A button, you idiot old player? Like, they'll start like just attacking me for whatever reason, and it's just, oh my god.
Well, I think at the moment that you see games go too far from their roots is the moment that you see games start to hurt. That's why Counter-Strike has stayed true to his roots. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. The gunplay is the same. The buy system the same. It's been this way since a long time ago. Like, it's staying true to what it is. League of Legends, it's staying true to what it is. It's like, obviously there's metas that switch things up and are weird. I mean, like, when I first started playing, 80 carries win mid lane, right? But like, it's not like they've decided like, okay, like, well, instead of there being 3 lanes, we're gonna make it 2 lanes, but then we're gonna put a hill that you have to capture in the middle. Like, they make fun game modes for the side stuff, but like, the core of it hasn't changed. The core of Dota hasn't changed. The core of Call of Duty, when it did change, when they started to get too much futuristic, the community pushed back, and now they're back boots on the ground. And yes, they've added movement mechanics, but like, everyone said like jetpacking, like jetpacking's the worst. Let's get back to boots on ground. Like, that was kind of like what everyone wanted back. Halo, kind of the same thing. Everyone wants to go back to what the game was. And this isn't like people like reminiscing on good times. I mean, it might be in some cases, but I think it's people wanting the games to stay true to the identities that made them fall in love with it, which like, made them unique. Like, Halo didn't need all like mantling and jetpacking and all this stuff. You had to know where to jump from. Like, on Guardian, if you missed your jump, you're gonna fall off the map. You didn't have climbing and jetpacks and boosts and shit like that to help you get there. You just had to know, right? Like, I I think that's where like a lot of games like lose their touch, and where you see the games that are doing well, they haven't. You know,
And they've stayed true.
they stay true to like their roots. I mean, Rainbow Six you could say didn't, but Rainbow Six's roots weren't good. Like nobody liked their roots, so they said, okay, let's try this from a different perspective and balance it a different way, and now it's doing well. So I think if Gears went back to its roots in terms of gameplay, I think if it went back to a single life game mode, like what I was saying is execution 2.0, aka an execution that doesn't have stalemates, because that was the only issue with execution was the stalemates in the long drawn out 4-minute rounds where we're held up in the back of Fuel Depot's big ass bunker thing. If you get rid of those, then you're back to the root, and you let the community be itself. I mean, obviously, like there's some things that don't need to be said, or you know, like there can be some filters, right? But like let the passion and the hype be there. Let the game go back to the roots that everyone fell in love with, and embrace the fact that Gears is a little abrasive. It's not easy. Just like, you know, every kid by the age of 4 is running around with a football or a baseball or kicking a soccer ball, but they're not throwing punches. You know what I mean? That they, like every kid knows traditional sports and not UFC. It's something you have to grow up and get involved in. Whereas like Gears is the same way, bro. Like not everyone is gonna, you know, grow up and choose to play Gears, but those that see it and find it interesting will. So I think that's what I want to see. I want to see it. I think you said it best. It needs to go back to what made Gears Gears.
Yep. They need to. Yeah. I mean, that's just says it perfectly on its own.
Well, hopefully someone from the coalition got this far into the podcast, because we are pretty deep. So we're going to wrap it up here. Kenny, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been, it's been too long since I originally wanted you. I wanted you on when you were on Rec and not even on our team, but this definitely should have happened a lot sooner. So thank you for joining. Anything you want to shout out or say before we close it up?
Take us back to 4v4, fix the game, make us happy. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Shout out to UIU, Astro, Jinhee, Drew.
Damn, this guy's been trained in interviews. Well, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure. I mean, basically, guys, we're having a podcast version of the phone calls Kenny and I have normally. So, hopefully, you guys enjoyed. If you did, and you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button to subscribe. If I ever end up uploading this somewhere like Spotify, hopefully you enjoyed listening. And we will see you all on the next episode of the Ashcast.